Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the Three Gun Show, episode 87. I am your host, Dave Hartman, coming at you from the NRA Whittington Center in New Mexico. By popular demand, my guest this week is former Olympic biathlete and current Three Gun Nation Pro Series competitor, Lanny Barnes. Before we get started here, I've had a lot of requests for the new Three Gun Show stickers over the last few months. I'm happy to give you some for free if you see me in a match. If you can't wait, you can go to threegunshow.com/store and just purchase some there. This episode of the podcast was recorded just a couple days before Lanny took the title of first place lady in limited scope at Rocky Mountain Three Gun and second place in the ladies shoot-off. Lanny tells us what she learned in biathlon while pushing her body to the extreme and then quickly switching to focus on a skill sport and how she applies those skills to Three Gun. Links to everything we discuss can be found in the show notes at threegunshow.com/episode 87, or you can just tap the album art on your smartphone and it will take you right there. Now, please join me in welcoming to the show, Lanny Barnes. Lanny, welcome to the Three Gun Show.
Oh, thank you. I'm super excited to be on the show.
Well, I'm excited to have you too. So I've had quite a few people recommend that I get you on the show. And what better place to do it than Rocky Mountain Three Gun?
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite places and have a lot of history here for sure.
Yeah? What kind of history do you have here?
Well, my twin sister and I, we came here probably for our first match in small bore prone when we were maybe 12 or 13.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and we did that for a few years and then jumped into biathlon. But, you know, this is one of my favorite places to shoot, so it's nice coming back here for another event.
So this is a really cool place. So I was here for like a day last year, and I'm getting the full experience this year. I'm here for like the entire week, and I keep finding like different areas of this place I had no clue about. Like there's, a giant mine like right up the road, and there's the Cooper's Walk. There's so many amazing different ranges around here. It really is like such a unique little, I guess, big spot in like the shooting world. And I can't believe like it was 3.5 hours away my entire life, and I never came here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those hidden treasures that, if a lot more shooters knew about it, I think this place would be really hopping.
Oh, for sure.
It's gorgeous here, and you can pretty much do any kind of shooting you want and enjoy, wildlife and incredible scenery, and just, you can stay here and barbecue or whatever, hang out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and speaking of wildlife, I was sitting over at the shotgun area, stealing their Wi-Fi, which is free, but I like to say stealing anyway. It makes me feel cool. Yeah. But I was stealing their Wi-Fi, and my dog's sitting there next to me, and he just stands up and starts pointing, and I turn around, and there's like a whole little flock or sheep, or what the hell do you call a bunch of antelope?
A herd.
Thank you. There's a whole herd of antelope behind me.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting out there, just right by the trap houses, no one's shooting or anything like that. But yeah, and we were discussing this last night. It's amazing how like domesticated they all seem when they're just willing to get real close to you and they're not spooked at all.
Yeah, I think being on the property for so long, these animals, they get very used to shooting and human encounters and stuff like that. And I do know they offer some hunts on the ranch, but I think it's a different part of the ranch. But the animals around, the shooting ranges, they get very used to it, and yeah, it's almost like a zoo.
Yeah, you got there's like horny toads. There's a bunch of jackrabbits everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm told there's like all kinds of foxes around here, and I was warned about the mountain lions too, so can't leave the dog alone for any short period of time.
Yeah, we saw a bear last time we were here.
Oh, is that right?
Cool. Yeah.
And where was that at?
Over by the cabins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were staying at the cabins, and we were starting to head to one of the stages, and it was just sitting up on the hill. I think it was probably waiting for everyone to go to bed so it can sneak down to the camp and see if anybody left any food out.
Yeah, go check out the picnic baskets.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Well, if I've watched cartoons, that's what I've learned bears do is they go for the picnic baskets.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that's where the good stuff is.
Exactly. Well, Lanny, we're going to talk a lot about three gun here, but and your shooting career and your history in the shooting sports. But real quick, give the audience an idea of who you are off the range. What do you do when you're not shooting?
Well, I shoot a lot, so not a lot of time outside of that. But I really love doing anything outdoors: hunting, fishing, backpacking, mountain biking. I do a lot of artwork, so that's one of my many jobs that I do. So I do commission pieces for people. I have a website, theolympianartist.com, and I've been doing that kind of stuff for a long time, and I just love it.
Really? So are you like a painter, or what kind of art do you do?
I do everything. Right now, a lot of people have been requesting charcoal drawings, so I do white charcoal on black paper. It has a dramatic effect, and people are really enjoying those pieces.
Very cool. Very cool. I'll have to check your website out and see what you have there. Now, a lot. See, I know that you're also an Olympian, right? Many people also know that. I saw Three Gun Nation put out an article yesterday. The Olympics are going on right now. So your sport was biathlon. Mm-hmm. And you were just telling me that you were down here shooting when you were young. So is that how it started, was shooting small bar?
You know, that's kind of how it started for biathlon. You know, Tracy and I grew up shooting and hunting with my dad and things like that. And he had 3 girls, and that was his biggest passion. So, of course, he taught us 3 how to do it.
That's cool.
And but yeah, it was actually here in Raton, I believe. We were at one of the small bore prone matches, and a guy approached us, and he's like, "Hey, have you girls ever thought about biathlon? Because, you know, in small bore prone, oftentimes you're trying to keep your heart rate down, mm-hmm. and in between bouts or whatever, Tracy and I'd be juggling a soccer ball or chugging a Gatorade, doing all the things you shouldn't be doing." So the guy, he came up to us and he's like, "You girls are in the wrong sport. You should try biathlon. You know, it looks like it'd be more your kind of thing." And so we looked it up. We didn't even know what it was, and we're like, "Wow, that's kind of cool. You could ski around and shoot stuff." And so we started figuring out how to get into it, and tried out a few local matches in Colorado or races, and just fell in love with it. Yeah.
Or were your parents supportive of that, or was it hard to convince them to?
You know, no. My parents were very supportive. You know, I think all of us at first just thought it was a good way for us to stay in shape for soccer in the winter. And, you know, another good hobby, but it definitely became more than a hobby.
No kidding. Oh, that's cool. So, how many years did you shoot biathlon before you decided, like, oh, I'm going to do some focused training on this, and, you know, maybe make it my primary sport?
Well, we probably a year or 2.
Oh, really? It was that fast?
Yeah. We started biathlon our freshman year in high school, and I think by our sophomore year, that was when Tracy made her first international team. And then the year after, we made the junior world championship team. And so, you know, it happened fairly quickly. We picked, obviously being shooters, that wasn't, you know, that was our strong point, but we picked up the skiing fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that was obviously our weak point. But, yeah, I mean, we just dove right into it and kind of fell in love with it. So we transitioned from our goal of making the Olympics for soccer to, you know, making Olympics for biathlon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So then when you guys decided to focus and make that like your primary sport and like set that Olympic goal, what did your training regimen look like? I mean, you're still high school kids, right? So
yeah.
Was it hard to focus, and did you have like an exceptional amount of drive in that direction?
I think Tracy and I always had that kind of drive and focus. No matter what we did, we always kind of put a lot into it. Especially like soccer, it was our huge passion. So we, you know, and being a team sport and being twins, you know, we put everything into it because, you know, we wanted to fight for our team. And when we started biathlon, even though it was an individual sport, we looked at it as, you know, we're fighting for our country now, and you know, going for Team USA. So that was a big motivation for us to push through the hard training and, you know, even miss out on some of the things like your early 20s when you're, you know, spending the majority of your time in Europe and things like that competing.
Now, did you guys train together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did all of our training together. I think Tracy and I, being so close, we always have and probably always will do everything together.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge advantage for us to do it that way too, because we can constantly push each other every day and keep raising that level higher and higher.
Yeah, it's cool when you have like a training partner. It makes it easier for you to focus. And then, you know, I was just talking to a guy today in another podcast, and it's like you've got that sled dog mentality where you're pushing each other to do better, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there were days where, you know, you'd have a bad day and you're like, I just don't want to go out today. But, you know, Tracy, she'd be motivated, so she's like, get your butt out here, we're going to go train. And, you know, so, and it kind of, that yo-yo effect really helped, I think.
Yeah.
Keep us in check.
So was your training like every single day, or did you have like certain days you went and trained? And
Biathlon was very strenuous and huge commitment. We'd get 2 weeks off a year, and usually in the spring.
Wow.
And then we'd be training and racing the rest of the time. We had usually a mandatory 1 day off a week, just because, you know, doing all that physical training, you need recovery. Otherwise,
right,
you're just gonna wear yourself out. And but we trained twice a day. You know, like our typical day, we'd wake up in the morning and we'd go for like a 15 to 30 minute jog, just to kind of stretch the legs out and stretch, eat breakfast, go out for our main workout of the day, which was like 2 to 4 hours physical training, sometimes combined with shooting, sometimes not. And then we'd eat lunch, take a quick nap, and then go out for our second main workout, which was another 2 to 4 hours. And again, sometimes with shooting, sometimes not. And then we'd shoot in the afternoon after that, and then eat dinner, and evenings were dry fire, cleaning guns, watching video, and then going to bed. So it wasn't a whole lot of time for anything else outside of that.
yeah, no kidding. Jeez. Now, so how do you train for biathlon in the summer then?
We did a lot of cross training.
Okay.
So we'd run, mountain bike. We'd do a lot of weightlifting. We had these things called roller skis, and you know, they were maybe 2.5 feet long, had a wheel on each end, and we used the same boot and binding that we use in the winter, except we'd go on pavement. The only thing is pavement isn't as forgiving as snow when you fall. But it was a lot of fun, and oftentimes we go over to Europe, and they have tunnels there that are refrigerated, and they have snow in there, so they'd be, you know, a kilometer or two long, and you just ski back and forth for hours on end. And a lot of them also had shooting ranges inside, so you know, we'd be skiing with our guns back and forth and shooting and stuff. So.
Wow. So this is the first time I've ever heard anything like that, and that sounds like amazing. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But what the audience can't see is that you rolled your eyes in the middle of that. So it sounds like you've spent a lot of time in that type of environment.
Yeah. Well, if the designers would have painted the insides of the tunnel, you know, something nice like a beach scene or just anything instead of just, you know, concrete the whole way. You know, because in skiing we're skiing 3 or 4 hours. We're skiing a lot of kilometers, so that's a lot of loops back and forth, and so it can get very it can get boring.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it is fun, but it can get boring at times.
Yeah, so that reminds me of like the cubicle experience, you know, where everything's gray and the colors are muted and there's no sunshine and
yeah,
it sounds terrible.
Yeah. it was torturous at times.
So you did like all this training. So from the time that you started like, okay, we're going to get into biathlon to the time of that first Olympic experience, how long are we talking there?
Well, we started biathlon probably when we were, 15, 16, and then we made our first Olympic team when we were 23.
Oh, okay. So what was that 2004 games?
2006 games.
2006?
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was an incredible experience. You know, being our first games, we were, very green, and in biathlon you're always running a fine line of pushing yourself too hard and going over the edge and getting sick and
Right.
being overtrained and things like that. So we ended up both getting sick for the games, but it was an incredible experience because we were still able to race and just I think that my favorite thing is the opening and closing ceremonies of the games. Where you're walking in this huge stadium and there's thousands and thousands of people and you're walking in behind the flag, and it's just when they announce USA and everybody just screams. It's a really cool feeling.
That has to be an amazing feeling. That's pretty cool. It's it's very exciting experience to share with your sister too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think had I not been able to share that with her, it would have been a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it made it that much more special that she was there, I think.
So you went to the games 3 times, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what? So I've never sat down and spoken to an Olympian or anything. So how does that transition out of contention for the Olympics happen? Do you just decide, all right, I'm done, or is it is it there's new up and comers coming at you, or what is the how does that transition work?
The transition could come in a lot of ways for a lot of different athletes. You can just decide, hey, it's time for me to hang up the boots, or you can get kicked out, because you're just not doing well enough performing. You could have young up and comers beat you, injury, illness, things like that. Tracy and I, we were fortunate enough to make the decision on our own. We thought, okay, this is time for us to, 3, we gave it our best shot and did the best that we could possibly do under the circumstances, and it's time to move on to other great adventures.
Interesting. So when you got out of it, did you already decide okay, we're going to go to shoot 3 gun, or did you take a period of time to figure out what the next move was? Or
we Tracy's kind of a planner, so we kind of had everything already planned out. And and another reason too is I saw a lot of my teammates and other Olympians, they get to the end of their career either on their own or forcefully and not know what they want to do. And sometimes it can be a really hard transition, because when you go to something that's so incredibly focused and taking up so much of your time and commitment, and then all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. A lot of people were like, well, what do we do now? And Tracy and I thought a lot about that, and we thought, well, there's a lot of skills that we can use from biathlon, and we can't let that go to waste. And so we decided to jump into 3 gun, and then also design some shooting courses where we can teach people how to shoot with an elevated heart rate and under stress.
Oh, no kidding. So, okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. So do you then teach biathlon, or do you teach defensive skills? Or
we do a little bit of biathlon, but not a lot. Most of our teaching is we do a little bit of military and law enforcement, civilians, people going out hunting, because you could run up a hill and have to take a once in a lifetime shot on an animal, and if you don't know how to handle your breath rate and control your barrel movement and things like that, then you're gonna either have a miss or wound an animal. So we do a lot of different courses like that, and even we work with a lot of 3 gunners too. Mm-hmm. Just with the training aspect and how to get in better shape for 3 gun, and so that when you get to the end of the stage, you're not completely winded.
Yeah, well, and which is a huge consideration here at Rocky Mountain 3 gun, right? Because not only do you have the elevation to deal with, if you're from one of the lower states, you and I are fortunate enough to be Coloradans, but then you've got natural terrain you're running over. You're running, up hills, down hills, and covering long distances to hit all these targets. Plus, you're carrying your guns, you're carrying all your ammo and stuff like that. Yeah. So now, when you're at these matches and these stages, especially in natural terrain environments like this, do you watch your fellow competitors and think like, they're doing it all wrong. Their breathing's off, their barrel movement's off. Do you see a lot of things that people can improve upon?
Well, I think it's more that it doesn't take a lot of extra effort and training to get in a little bit better shape, because you're not doing it. It's not like you're running a 5K or running miles before your first shot. So you don't have to be in really, really excellent physical condition. It definitely helps, but a lot of people, it wouldn't take much to just do a little bit of training to be able to get to where they're more comfortable with shooting in matches like these. I know there's a lot of people that kind of shy away from matches like this because they're like, it's too physical, I can't do that. And it's even as little as 30 minutes a couple times a week training can really make a difference and help you be able to shoot matches like this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not giving all the secrets away from your training business, but what kind of training would you recommend for someone who has like a match like this as a goal in mind for next year?
Yeah, well, a lot of the things that we have people work on is strength and strength endurance. If you're running through an all shotgun stage and shooting, I think it's 60 rounds for this stage here. By the end, your arms can be pretty tired.
Yeah.
And so, strength training is one, but in order to have that strength, you need an aerobic base. And so, build up your aerobic capacity a little bit, and things like that can really make a difference.
Yeah, plus you're carrying like at least 60 ounces of shells on you for the duration there.
Yeah.
I guess the faster you shoot it, the lighter the load becomes. But.
Right.
So when so back to the transition to 3-gun.
Mm-hmm.
How did you decide 3-gun, and then how did you just get in? Did you just start?
Well, it's kind of it's another funny story. I think it was Otis Technology, one of our biggest sponsors. They said, "Hey, girls, have you ever tried 3-gun? It's a really fast-growing sport, and I think you guys would like it." And again, we didn't really know what it was. So we looked it up, and we're like, "Wow, that looks like a lot of fun." And so
you don't need skis; you can just run.
Yeah. So we actually signed up for our first match, which was here, Rocky Mountain, 3 years ago.
That was your first match?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It was an eye opener. So did it, and ever since then, it's been my favorite match, and probably always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you shoot any local matches, or have you shot any local matches, or you just stick to the major ones?
We have a local match in Cortez. It's more kind of on the tactical end, but it's a lot of fun. The guys that run it are a lot of fun, and these days we try to get to it as often as possible, but it seems like we're always gone that same weekend. So
right.
And there's not in our neck of the woods, there's not a lot of matches. So we usually have to drive at least a minimum of 6 hours to get to our our closest match.
So that so your neck of the woods is Durango. Does Durango have like a pistol club or anything, like a USPSA type thing?
Yeah, they do a little bit. We haven't done a lot of those matches, but we're hoping to kind of get into them in the future.
Yeah.
My husband and I just built a range on our property with 4 different bays and a long range out to 500. So.
Oh wow!
And we're hoping that by this fall we'll be out to 1,000 yards. So. That really helps.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and we're not quite ready to open up, but we're gonna have a Babes with Bullets pistol course on it here September 9th, 10th, and 11th. So it's gonna be kind of like a soft opening. I'm kind of excited.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. That's cool to be able to do it right in your own backyard too.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you been taking advantage of that space then for practice and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's nice to just kind of roll out of bed and even if I want to, go in my pajamas and go shoot. So it makes a difference, I think. And we've been working hard on trying to build that up, and it's just kind of exciting being able to actually have something like that available.
Yeah, that's like every person's dream that I talk to in this sport, is having their own range in their own backyard.
Yeah.
So okay, so the transition to 3-gun, I'm going to keep hammering that one.
Yeah.
But so you have the rifle down because you've shot a lot of rifle in biathlon, right?
Mhm.
It's a little bit higher powered, but we shoot little baby rifles that bleed off all the gas and everything.
Yeah.
Was the transition to pistol and shotgun, did that give you any hiccups or anything, or is it just all natural?
Definitely, yeah. I think a lot of things transfer over, but for Tracy and I, we had done some shotgun shooting growing up, but mostly hunting, at birds and stuff.
Okay.
And so I think pistol was and probably still is our weakest link, and we had some incredible role models and teachers. We hooked up with Babes with Bullets and did a couple of their camps, and learned a lot from Kay Michalek and Lisa Munson and Deb Burns and stuff like that. And they it's kind of embarrassing to say, but they took us from holding a pistol so lightly that we weren't, getting a lot of jams to actually being able to hit something. So it's nice to have people like that to help you out a little bit. I think we were fortunate in that sense.
Yeah, that's good. So was it hard to go and seek out that instruction, or was that like ingrained in you from what you had done in the past? Was like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I'm just going to go get some instruction?
Well, I think we lucked out because we were at the SHOT Show with some of our sponsors, and that's where we ran into Deb Burns and Kay Michalek, and they offered to help us out. And but I think one of the biggest problems that we had in our transition is in biathlon. One of the biggest things that you do is when you come into the range, we're shooting at around 180 beats per minute, and the last thing you want to do is be tense.
Right.
And so we learned how to completely relax our body when our heart's beating at 180 beats per minute. And so we transitioned to 3-gun, it's such an automatic thing that no matter how high the pressure or whatever, I can make myself relax just like that. And so I get into 3-gun, where you need to muscle things a little bit more. And I just started relaxing. And everyone's like, no, you can't be doing that. You need to grip your pistol, and you need to, put some oomph behind your shotgun and
right.
Things like that. So that was probably one of the biggest things. And it's really funny for a lot of people because, a lot of people, they step up and tension is like a huge thing. And for me, the more pressure and the harder the situation, the more I relax. And so it kind of was a bad thing for me.
Well, that's not me at all. Like, I just get more tense, the more pressure. So maybe that's why 3-gun works for me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Interesting. So so you had to make that transition from relax to tense with the shotgun and with pistol. Do you do that? Find that same thing with rifle now, or do you shoot the same way you did in biathlon?
The rifle's a little bit different. I mean, when you're shooting up close, I feel like I have to put a little bit more behind it so I can run the gun a lot quicker. But still, for the long range, I think there's a lot that goes into a lot of the things I can take from biathlon to 3-gun. As far as the long range, you still need to relax and find kind of what we call optimal tension. If you're gripping something too hard in one area, then it can throw you off in another area. So I think relaxation can definitely help.
Yeah. Now, do you see that in like a lot of your fellow competitors? Like, that dude needs to relax.
Well, I think a lot of people have a hard time relaxing competition. It's just natural.
Yeah.
I think Tracy and I are fortunate enough to have competed at such a high level that, when I come to 3-gun, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. It's so laid back. I don't have 30,000 screaming drunk Germans, behind me in the stands. And it's so much fun. And I was telling someone earlier today how the thing I love the most about 3-gun is I know for sure that I'm not going to puke, pass out, or become extremely tired doing it. So,
Right.
whereas in biathlon, those 3 things are almost guaranteed.
Well, that's good. So I guess it's a good follow-up sport for biathlon then.
Yeah, good retirement.
So it's funny you mentioned the word retirement. Do you look at this as like your retirement? Like this is going to be like a long-term like play for you guys, or is this just like a season of your life? Or
I'd like this to be a long-term thing for sure. When Tracy and I commit to something, we usually don't quit until we're completely satisfied in what we've given to the sport. So we don't have goals not just for ourselves, but I look at 3-gun and I see there's not a lot of opportunities for juniors. I mean, it's growing like crazy for adults and stuff, but in the future we'd like to look into how we can help grow the sport with kids and stuff. I know it's hard with obviously higher power and things like that, but there's got to be some way that we can.
Oh, for sure.
Even if it's 22s and shorter stages and stuff.
Yeah. NRA has a 22 LR. I think they call it the 3-gun experience or something like that with 22 LR. I've never seen one of the matches, but I always thought checking one out would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Especially for juniors where they'll do airsoft or 22, which is kind of a cool way to get people into the sport.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And so that's it's an interesting road you went down there. What are some things that you see in 3-gun that could be like improved with your experience in biathlon aside from the getting more juniors into it?
I think the thing that was great about biathlon is it was a very, very spectator-friendly sport. It was the #1 most popular winter sport in Europe, even over downhill skiing and things like that. Yeah, everyone's very surprised, but we'd have 30 to 50,000 spectators on a Wednesday, and they'd come in the morning and they'd wait all day for a night race, and in the stands and in the cold. And the thing that they did the best was they made it spectator friendly. That you could see all the action. So they made the courses so that you could see the skiers out on the course, and when they came back in the shooting range, it was a cool atmosphere, and they had big jumbotrons and stuff where you can, if there was a spot you couldn't see, there's always cameras everywhere. So they made it very spectator friendly, and I think if 3-gun is to really grow something like that, I don't see. I mean, 3-gun Nation, it seems like they're doing some things kind of like that with their shoot-offs and trying to invite crowds and things like that and get it more televised, and I think that's kind of the direction 3-gun needs to go, just to grow, as far as becoming spectator friendly, and getting crowds watching and people excited and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the problems for like this area is it's 3.5 hours from Denver and stuff like that, and unfortunately they don't put ranges near major metropolitan areas unless you're like in the Philippines or something like that. But the how do you see overcoming that particular challenge?
Yeah, that's difficult because biathlon, obviously being 22s, they could put it. I mean, one of our races we did inside a soccer stadium, so they just put a little bit of bulletproof glass, which probably wouldn't fly here in the U.S., but they put a little bit bulletproof glass, and then they filled the stadium.
No kidding. And
so we'd shoot. We'd have spectators all on all sides of us, and we'd shoot, and then they made a little ski course through the stadium or whatever. But it's difficult with 223 and 12 and 9 to be able to do it closer to metropolitan areas, the noise and things like that. But I think it's probably a matter of getting more creative and finding places that are more gun friendly, obviously, and trying to get groups more involved. Say bring in the Boy Scouts out, or even Girl Scouts, and just groups to watch and stuff. That's what they did in biathlon. They in the U.S. anyways, when we had World Cups, they'd bring all the schools to come watch. And maybe that might not fly here, but some groups, and just get the word out there more. And I think the more people see it, the more shooters especially, and even non-shooters. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially women, that are jumping into it that have never shot before and just become completely addicted.
Oh, for sure. Well, and it's amazing to watch the look on people's face when you show them just like a YouTube video on your phone. You're like, this is what 3-gun is, and they're like, oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's so small. It hasn't even like cracked like the huge big time yet. So
Yeah. I mean, even just when you think of law enforcement in general, like, I mean, it's a perfect training tool for those guys, I think. And so I think the more those guys find out about it and jump into it, it's going to be even better for them. Good training and help them become more proficient.
At my old gym, before I moved out of Littleton, we had lots of law enforcement guys there, and I would always ask them, "What do you carry in your car?" And it's like, "Well, I've got a 12 gauge, I've got a carbine," and it's like, "Well, that's what 3-gun is. Look at my phone, you know." And anytime they saw that, they're like, "That's way cooler than what we do in like our quals." So it was always. I mean, there's obviously exceptions to that rule, but it was interesting to see like their reaction, and people were so excited about it, and they just never knew it was out there before.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things, is just getting people to spread the word about it.
Mm-hmm. So back to your 3-gun game specifically. You mentioned your training for biathlon, and it sounded very grueling. Now, do you do the same sort of thing for 3-gun, or have you relaxed a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the training's different. Obviously, I don't do as much physical training because I don't need to, and I need to do a lot more shooting training to try to catch up. Because Tracy and I are trying to do in a few years what most people do over a decade. We're trying to make up for a lot of lost time in pistol and shotgun, and even long range rifle and stuff like that. So I'm doing a ton of shooting training just to try to get as much experience as I can.
Yeah. Well, then you mentioned that Tracy's the planner. Does she set out like your training regimen for the week, or?
Well, actually, I'm the person that writes all the training plans for everybody.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a background in kinesiology and physiology, and studied a lot in psychology, which is one of my big passions. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff, and so I write it out, and she cracks the whip. So
that's great. You have like your specific duties and plays to your strengths. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. We over the years we kind of figured that we're stuck with each other, so we might as well work well with each other. So.
Oh man, I wish my brother and I would have figured that out when we were in high school.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't figure that out, but luckily we figured that out early.
Yeah. Well, it took us going to college to figure that out, and now we're great friends.
Nice.
So, but we're a couple years apart, so there's also the big brother little brother thing.
Yeah.
So with your training, then, do you focus primarily on pistol and shotgun now, or?
No, because I still feel like there's a lot of things that I can learn with rifle. And, biathlon, it was very, I guess, methodical with our shooting. And 3-gun, you're going from super quick shots to long range to back to super quick shots. And so it's a lot different. And I still feel like there's a lot to work on in all three.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have like a mentor in the game now that's kind of giving you, that you look at and say, okay, that's where we want to be in 3 years that would normally take us a decade, and this is how we're going to do it?
Well, I think one of the people that I look up to the most is probably Kay Michalak. To me, I think she's kind of like the modern day Annie Oakley. I don't think people give her enough credit for what she's done with shooting. She was incredible and won world championships and things like that, and even when no one was watching, and she's the kind of person, she doesn't really care about that, but I think she is responsible for bringing shooting sports for women up to a higher level, and so yeah, I mean, the whole family is awesome, and there's a lot of great shooters in 3-gun, like Di and Becky. They're really great, and a lot of young up and coming shooters too. And it's just cool to see women in general getting into it. So, yeah.
Now, do you study your competition and break down like what they do and then put that into your practice, or do you just know where you want to be?
I think there's something to be said about watching your competitors to learn from them, because I think you can learn from anybody, whether they're below your level or above your level. It's the kind of thing where you can learn, take things from watching them and then use them to maybe improve your skill or your ability. I think that can definitely be beneficial.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have an off season now that you're shooting 3-gun? Do you take time off, or is this just a year-round thing?
I haven't quite figured that out, because I hear a lot of 3-gunners, different times of the year too, random different times of the year, say, "Oh yeah, my 3-gun season is just really starting to go," and then other 3-gunners are like, "Yeah, I'm taking a break now, and then we'll get started again at this time." And so I haven't really figured out when that is. I'm just trying to do as many matches as possible and get as much experience as possible. So I haven't really taken any breaks yet.
Nice.
I'm just having too much fun right now, but I'm sure there's a season.
Yeah. So the it's interesting because it does seem regional, right? And in Colorado, we're fortunate enough because we get so much sun that we can shoot, a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunate enough that it melts all that snow, and then you get mud, and then they don't want you on the range, right?
Yeah,
so we could shoot, but generally we don't shoot in Colorado.
Yeah.
But I've noticed like a lot of the Texas guys, they shoot year round. The northern guys like in Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, stuff like that, they're just bundled up and maybe dry firing for the winter. But I've heard of a lot of people just taking July off. Like July, I'm not shooting. It's kind of a weird spot. Maybe it's because it's so hot some places.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it seems like there's a lot of 3-gunners that kind of take a break in the summer because 3-gun, it seems like a lot of the hotbeds are in really hot places. So
yeah.
I guess I could see that being a big thing. But for me, we get quite a bit of snow in Durango, but shooting in the snow is kind of like second nature to me. So I don't think twice about it. I'm so used to cold fingers and things like that I guess it doesn't faze me at this point. I still have them all. I didn't lose them in frostbite. So
now, do you learn anything, when you're shooting with cold fingers that you shouldn't keep in your head and imprint when you're coming out to warm weather like this?
Well, I think it's more that you learn tricks how to keep your fingers warm, because once you lose that feeling in your fingers, it's not coming back until you're either working really hard or you get back someplace warm. So I think the biggest thing is trying to prevent that from happening. So we had tricks to keep our fingers warm so that they wouldn't get to that point, because that can be dangerous. It could become a safety issue of not being able to feel the trigger and things like that. So I'd say just keep them warm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So not necessarily something you have to worry about here at Rocky Mountain 3-gun, at least this time of year. It's kind of warm out there. What do you do to prepare for this match, like physical wise? What kind of gear do you bring with you to make sure that you're going to be comfortable throughout the day?
Well, I think for a match like this, a lot of people say it's more physical and things like that. I think some of the most important things that people struggle with is just hydration. You hear a lot of people, I've got a headache, but at altitude you gotta definitely drink more, and but there can be obviously a certain point where you drink too much too. That can be dangerous, because your cells, they can take on water, but they can't necessarily get water out as quickly. So they can swell and it can be dangerous. So knowing how much water your body needs is important, and also adding some electrolytes too, because if you're drinking too much water, you're just flushing out your electrolytes, your sodium, potassium, things like that, and you need sodium, potassium. Those are what make your muscles contract.
Right.
And so if you're taking on too much water, you're just flushing that out, and your muscles don't work as well. And so, people think, oh, I'm cramping up, I need to drink more, and then they drink more and more and more, and then it's like, bad news.
So I'm smiling real big because I actually did that. I ran a bunch of Spartan races, and I did the exact same thing. Like, I would bring like a 32-ounce Camelback with me, and just like, I am cramping up, and I've drank 2 of these. I don't know what the heck to do. And I found out from, one of my coaches is like, well, you're not drinking any, or you're not taking in any salt, or like you said, electrolytes. So yeah, I've definitely been in that area where I'm just like pouring gasoline on the fire, trying to put it out.
Yeah.
So, okay, so hydration is something that people can do for high elevation match like this, and for what some people would consider a more physical match. So you've shot 3 stages already, and you have 6 more to shoot. What's going to be your focus for the next couple of days?
I think for big matches like this, and most matches, I think being able to make it to the finish, and not just physically, but with your gear operating correctly and proficiently, is cleaning your guns and maintaining them. A lot of people, they get to matches like this, and I think physical training helps too. If you get to a match and you're not super exhausted at the end of the day, where you feel like you just have to go to bed, and you have enough energy to clean your guns, that's a good thing. And I see a lot of people, towards the end of the matches, their guns start going down, and they malfunctions and this and that, and you could be having a great match, and then all of a sudden it's done because of a issue or something. And to me, I feel like a lot of those can be prevented if you maintain your guns a little better and you clean them. I mean, I clean them, tear them apart after every day.
Really?
And a lot of people are like, oh, you don't really just, spray them down with a little lube or something, and they should be fine. And
I'm that guy.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, And Tracy and I have had very, very few malfunctions and issues in the matches we've done, and I attribute that to cleaning our guns really well. And and it's not just because we're sponsored by Otis or anything like that. I'm a firm believer in that. If you clean and maintain your guns, they're gonna run properly.
Yeah.
And we put that to the test, and it's worked.
That's good. You're making me feel terrible now, because I even on like multiple day matches, I don't clean my guns. I'm terrible. All right, I'm gonna have to change that. But
yeah, well, try it out. See if it helps prevent some jams and malfunctions and stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so I need to clean my guns. I know that. So other than keeping your gear in top shape and making sure that you're you're physically able to complete the match, is there anything that you're looking forward to, like on these next couple stages, or is there anything that you're kind of like trepidatious about?
Well, I think for me, I usually shoot better and better as matches go on. Where
Really?
I think most people, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I think mental preparation is just as important as the physical preparation. A lot of people get tired mentally. And burn out and things like that, and keeping a good attitude no matter what. There's a lady on one squad that had unfortunate bad first stage, and she's like, well, I guess my match is over. And I'm like, no, you have 8 more stages. It's just like we do a biathlon race, and you may have a bad first shooting stage, but you could have 3 more shooting stages after that, and it could totally flip-flop the race. So many things could happen between the first and the last kilometer in the race, and it's no different with 3-gun. There's a lot of stages, a lot of shooting, so you can't go into the attitude thinking, well, it's over if I don't shoot good in the first one. It's a long match, and you never know what's going to happen, and so you just got to keep a positive attitude and fight until the last shot is fired.
Yeah, I like it. So how do you personally keep your your mental game high, or how do you keep that positive attitude throughout 3 days, 9 stages? How do you keep it up?
Well, I think for me, coming from biathlon where it was such a mentally draining sport, because you'd be out there physically pushing yourself to the extreme, and then you'd have to come in and flip-flop your mind to focus on a skill sport, and then go back and forth between the two. It was very, very mentally draining. So, we developed a lot of mental cues and techniques to help combat that, and just positive self-talk. I know this, that stuff is kind of cheesy for a lot of people, but it really works. If you think the glass is half empty, it's always going to be half empty. If you think, and always look at the good things that come out of it. Everybody knows what they did wrong in a stage. They're the first person to know it because they did it.
Yeah.
But if you just throw that out and say, hey, that's in the past, there's nothing I can do about it, absolutely nothing. But I can do something about that next stage. I can make that good, and then the next stage after that, and things like that. You can keep a positive attitude. And positive attitude also can transfer into you having a lot more energy, or feeling like you have a lot more energy. So if you start getting down on yourself, your body recognizes that as a kind of in the flight or fight response, like, I'm going to get out of here, this isn't good. And so it's just going to drag you down more, and you're going to feel fatigue, you're going to have a bad attitude, and you're just not going to, things are going to go downhill from there. So if you even force some positive into your situation, then it can turn around.
Interesting. I've never heard about the if you're mentally taxing yourself, you can physically drain yourself. That's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah. Well, they it takes a lot more effort to be down on yourself than it does to be positive, and it can make a huge difference. Even forcing yourself to smile helps release endorphins and different things in your body, so that it starts thinking, oh, well, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, we must be happy we're smiling, right?
Yeah.
I do that when I'm in traffic.
Yeah.
Towing the trailer. Like, I'm just going to smile the whole time. I'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Lanny, we're, want to be respectful of your time and let you get on with your evening here, but I got a couple last questions for you. First is, where do you see the sport of three-gun headed?
I'm pretty excited about seeing the future of three-gun and where it's headed, because, it obviously is growing really quickly. I think the biggest things that stand in its way are the restrictions on guns throughout the country and different things. There's a lot of people that maybe don't have the education and don't understand firearms, and I think that's the biggest thing. And so I think that's kind of threatening the sport a little bit. But other than that, I see it continue to grow and become popular, and I think it'll never become an Olympic sport, because there's a lot of other countries that don't see the same way as we do.
Yeah, for sure.
And but that being said, I think that it can definitely grow and become just as popular as some of the other big sports maybe down the road.
Very cool. All right, last question. If you can leave the audience with one thought or one piece of advice, what would it be?
I'd have to say that no matter what your situation, never give up on it. It like I said earlier, with having a good mental attitude, just look for the positives, and those always have a way of trickling in and making things better. So life's too short to dwell on the negatives.
I like it. That's a great three-gun thought. It's a great final thought for life in general. Lanny, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down here and answer my questions and everything. And thanks for being on the Three Gun Show.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Lanny Barnes. This interview was so much fun to do. Lanny has such a cool background, and I love her outlook on the sport and just life in general. So this one was really fun to do in person. A big thanks to the fellas at JP Rifles for sticking around the Coors Centers late so we could get this interview. I was told they listen in the shop, which is a huge compliment and very much appreciated. So thanks, guys. I'll have links to everything we talked about, including Lanny's artwork, which is really cool, at 3gunshow.com/episode 87. Now, Tennille over at 3 Gun Nation let me know that 3 Gun for Vets is currently running a pretty serious raffle, and it is ending this week. You can enter to win a complete custom Cerakoted 3-gun kit, which consists of a Seekins rifle with a Vortex optic and a worn mount, 3-gun ready shotgun, and a custom Glock 34, all secured in an SKB 3-gun case with a Safariland setup. A link to the raffle will be in the show notes, so you can check it out there. If you like this show, please tell a friend. It does more for growing this show than you can possibly imagine. Show them how to subscribe in iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or something like that, and leave a review by going to 3gunshow.com/iTunes. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.